This post is a really dramatic warning to parents, and it comes with some really important legal advice that I want you to pay very careful attention to. Now, we as parents understand that our kids are going through some challenges that we never thought that we would encounter, right? And this is the social media warfare environment that they are engaged in some cases they're participating in. But what I want parents to start to understand is the dramatic effect that this online mob environment that we are aware of, sometimes in the periphery, sometimes more directly, is having on our kids. And when I use terms like defamation, libel, slander, extortion, invasion of privacy, I want you to understand that these are real terms and these are real things that our kids are engaging in and maybe are the victim of. The purpose of this post is to give you tools that you must deploy and implement when you find this is going on. Let's talk about what these things are. And specifically, your kids are involved in chat groups, and these chat groups go far beyond what you and I as parents might have engaged in, catcalling, name calling, that kind of things. What's happening is that kids are finding themselves engaged in really abusive behavior, and then the mob is piling on. When we read these news stories about, a girl that commits suicide or a kid that commits suicide, oftentimes I think the parents are not fully aware of what their own children have been going through. The online taunting, the text messages, the fake profiles on Facebook and otherwise. And they are explicitly maybe not aware of things like online extortion that their own kids are being subjected to. So the first part of this post here is a warning to you to understand what's happening. And when we hear these news stories about a kid that, maybe commits suicide because he was a victim of some online extortion, hindsight's 2020. But I think that maybe if the parents had engaged in more communication with their children about what online extortion is, maybe the kid would have been a little bit more prepared to understand exactly what's happening. So what does that conversation look like? What we find in these cases is that some of these teens are being subjected to online extortion campaigns. Either a fake extortion campaign, or maybe it is a real extortion campaign. Fake extortion campaign would be somebody that's, throwing all kinds of just blatantly false information or accusations at a kid that they should not even worry about. AI, fake images, all that kind of thing. But, as a parent, you need to understand what this is. AI out there is now fabricating images of kids. Maybe it's being pushed at your kid and you're not aware of it because you're not actively monitoring the phone. But the kid could be terrified about what's happening because of this extortion or whatever else. And your child could be a very sophisticated kid, but doesn't understand that this AI stuff just isn't something that they need to get as worried about. But that's a key thing that I want you to understand, is that every single day, kids are being targeted in extremely specific ways and increasingly manipulative ways. And what are the consequences? Well, the consequences of this stuff can, of course, be horrendous, right? Again, the extreme example, suicide, other things, but more directly, depression, anxiety, kids reverting into other worlds or removing friend groups, removing schools. We as parents, you as parents, need to take a far more active role. So what you got to do is talk about this. The first thing with this post is alerting you and expanding your view as parents to understand what's going on in these online worlds. But then the second thing is really sitting down with parents, as an adult, and developing a strategy. If you're married, husband, wife, getting together with mom, dad, really developing a strategy. A lot of this stuff is evolving in a co-parenting environment. And even if you're in a divorce situation or separated situation, this is an area where you guys got to come together as parents and understand the implications of this together as parents. But more specifically, I want you to understand that when this becomes criminal, and it can become criminal really quickly, if your kid's being subjected to extortion, AI images, threats, that can be criminal really quickly. It's got to be reported to law enforcement immediately. We're going to talk about here the civil takedown notice. But the second thing I want you to understand, if your kid's going through this, is the criminal implications. In Florida, we have this cyberstalking injunction. I've got this one here. We've got reports here at stopbullying.com about nationwide where you can do this. But the other element for protection we have, huge one, is the cyberstalking injunction for protection against online violence and cyberstalking. If you are experiencing your kid that is a target of online cyberstalking, fill out that injunction. Get it with the police, get it with law enforcement immediately. Protect your kid. If it hasn't crossed the line into criminal conduct like cyberstalking, then I want you to pay attention to the defamation, libel, slander, takedown letter. I think oftentimes as parents, educators, people that are involved, we are trying to resolve this by sit-down meetings and talking and text messages and whatever else. And what I've found in almost 30 years of practicing is, while talking can be effective, and we should always, pick up the phone, talk to that other parent, talk to the principal, whatever. One of the things that breaks through that barrier really quickly is online, a letter, written communication, certified mail, email delivery, delivered to all the people that are involved. If the kid's the victim of an online campaign, defamation, slander, libel, invasion of privacy, you want that letter to be delivered to the parties that are involved immediately. Sometimes we don't know exactly who they are. They're hiding behind anonymous profiles, fake profiles, whatever else, but we got a pretty good idea who's involved here. And there's no harm whatsoever to blasting that letter to as many people as possible. If there's a school group, if there's a sport group or somebody else involved, getting in the hands of leadership, starting the conversation about what's going on to the victim of this, starting the conversation about what's happening to the kids, that is absolutely essential. Don't let someone in your community, one of these kids, take actions that we're all going to regret later. Understand what these issues are, understand what you can do to protect yourself as a parent of a kid. Maybe you're a friend, a family member, whatever else. The purpose of this video, if a kid's going through it, make the parents understand what the legal rights for those kids are. And that is reporting cyberstalking, reporting crimes that are occurring like this. And then on the civil side of things, getting these civil takedown notices to the parties that are involved in this. We've all got a duty to protect kids. This is your warning and the skill set and tools that you can use to make that happen.